I saw this question, and while I should be writing, I'll answer this one. Like, you don't have a manager is the wrong way to think about the flat structure at Valve. And it takes a while to figure this out. So it used to be when I was there and started, people said it took 6 months for somebody to really understand and dig in. And it's not that no one's your manager. What it is everybody's your manager. So that means, as we're going to release Left 4 Dead 1 for the first time, I have an engineer coming up to me going, we've got to sell these as 4-packs. No one's going to buy this as a single and have their friend buy it as a single and then play together. That'll never happen. We got to buy it. We got to do 4-packs. We got to do 4-packs. I'm like, no. I think we're okay. We're okay. We can sell a single. But I have to go justify that. And I have to talk about that. And I have to respect that they're coming from a valid position. That they're not just trying to be jerks. That they're just not trying to beat me down or wear me down. Right? I got to be like, okay, no, this is a valid opinion. I need to be able to address this, because if I can't address it, that's a question that customers may have, that's a question that Gabe might have, somebody else, right? So I have to be able to answer it. And it's really helpful. Now, of course, on anything, there's certain people that you start to work with regularly and you interact with regularly, and your peers, and you don't really think of each other as manager in any sense of that way, right? You're just all working together and you're like throwing out ideas. It's more, hey, we're peers and we're all talking about this together and we're all getting on the train together and we're all understanding exactly where we're going together and working together. And when it works like that, man, it is super powerful. It is super great. Because everybody there is trying to do their absolute best, and nobody's doing a term that somebody introduced me to from the movie industry. It was called pixel fucking. Pixel fucking means you only care about your piece, your little thing, because you're making a reel, and so you are going to just like your little part of whatever you're making in the movie is going to be perfect. Who cares about the rest of the movie? Who cares at all? You just care. Oh, this is going to be. I'm going to put this in my reel. I'm going to get a bunch of jobs out of this. Where in the game, everyone's like, no, I care about everything. And I want to be able to feed in on everything. I want to talk about everything. So often you invite a lot of people to meetings. And often a lot of people don't show up because they're like, you guys are smart. You got it. Like, I think you guys are smart is a really common phrase that you'll hear at Valve. But yeah, it is horizontal across. Now, are there leads? Are there people who kind of ground up stuff? Yeah, of course. 100%, right? In the Left 4 Dead series, I was one of those people. Robin Walker's one of those people on a lot of projects, right? Like, that you need somebody to be organizing it, right? But it's more organizing than anything else. And I remember when I started doing that in Left 4 Dead, somebody came up to me and said, hey, just so you know, you're going to do less work than you think you are. Meaning my day job, my writing stuff and all of that. They're like, you're going to just have to deal with personalities. We don't have this is HR. And it was their like kind of warning, and also like, don't freak out when you're doing that. And so everybody has to do that. But also what I learned really quickly was, for certain things, I'm not equipped to handle nearly as well as other people who are really good at it. So there's people there who had been there forever. David Spire. You've never heard of David Spire. I don't think Valve works without David Spire. He's an engineer, did all the Hammer stuff. There's a bunch of people in the background like that just you never heard about, where everybody's a peer and everybody can hold each other accountable, as well as know that everybody else can hold them accountable, so that they need to be able to work, they need to be able to execute, and they need to be able to defend what they're doing. Actually, that last part's the important part in a lot of ways, because then you're deliberate when you're doing that versus random. And if you're deliberate and you can defend what you're doing, then that means that's expressing that you have an understanding of what you just did. And that's super powerful and super helpful, because that allows you then to share that with other people and have other people understand what you're doing. If you're not familiar, Valve has a kind of famously flat culture. And so what are some of the good and bad parts of it? So first, there was another person who asked the question of, doesn't this just mean that it's all hierarchy based on seniority? And that's not my experience at all at Valve. I was new there and given a lot of responsibility as long as I did the work. But let's talk about the good and the bad. So first, I just wanted to define flat hierarchy, because I think a lot of people misunderstand it. It's not that you have no managers, it's that everybody's your manager. So like, somebody could decide it's time for third lunch, and what are you going to do? Right? But that's really what it is. And so for me, that kind of environment is great, because what it does is it says, hey, I've got this weird mixed skill set. Everybody that Valve tries to hire is a T-shape, meaning you kind of have the thing you go deep on, writing, and then you have T that you're good at a bunch of other stuff, and called on, you could do it. So early on, like, I am really early there. we're doing the orange box and realize that there's no QA. So me and the animator just jump in and we do QA. And we become this bump in the flatness, right? So the video before is a joke of that I'm at the bottom of everybody else. But here, occasionally you would become like this bump. And it would be like, hey, nobody told us to take over QA, but nobody also told us not to, so we did. And then as we started doing it, we got in arguments with people. But eventually people would be like, hey, I've got a question on QA. I'm going to go to these two people, and they're the experts at it. And that kind of is this natural flow of it. And it works really, really well. Same thing happened with Left 4 Dead. I wasn't instantly like, hey, I'm a lead in Left 4 Dead, woo! Instead, I'm like, hey, talk to Gabe about it. And he's like, yeah, go work on it if you want. And that was the end of it. And then at one point, an engineer was in a lunch meeting with Gabe, and Gabe asked him about Left 4 Dead. And they're just like, oh, you should ask Chet. He's the person who's kind of leading that up. Gabe didn't even know. Nobody knew. Then all of a sudden, Gabe and I started having coffee together every day, and he totally helped me how to think about things and projects. But like that just happened naturally, right? And that happened out of me just doing work, right? And talking with someone the other day, a younger developer, and it kind of sucks, but it's kind of true. The easiest way to distinguish yourself is hard work, and just doing the hard work and putting in the hours, that often means. But the problem often in other companies is managers can take credit for that. Nobody knows what you're doing. But if it's in a flat company, in theory, everybody knows what you're doing because everybody's your manager. And so, in a minute, you can get, you kind of are being watched and countered, and people have an understanding, like people know that, oh, hey, Chet's leading this up, we can go ask him, even though there's nothing official about it, right? And that happens naturally across the board. And it works really well. It's really powerful when it works. It's one of the reasons why I think I worry about Valve a little bit of just if there's remote working, that's really hard to have that culture when it's remote, because you have to be able to check on people. Sometimes it's just someone having a bad time and you want to give them a break, or sometimes it's like, hey, this person's struggling. Will you go sit with them? And I've done that, right? Where you go sit in their office and you're like, hey, let's talk this through, and let's see, this is the worry that we have. You're not fired. We're not going to fire you. We're going to work through this. And again, it never is that failing isn't a problem. It's not asking for help is a problem, way more than failing. So where it doesn't work, one, ordering lunch or ordering crunch food. It doesn't work there at all. And that was, we're crunching for episode 1, and it's 2 days a week. We work late and we're gonna get food, and there's nobody to say what food we're gonna get. So earlier and earlier every day, the arguments start over where we're getting food from. Do people love mayo and they want Jimmy John's? Or do they want something else? Qdoba. And so these fights would just go on, and they would start, and it would go back and forth, and eventually you would sneak into somebody else's office, go to their desk, and type in, hey, we're getting food at Jimmy John's tonight. Send me your orders, right? That was like the power move. And we're just like, it was just chaos. It started like at 6, and eventually it was like the argument started at 1 in the afternoon, right? And then one day, the front desk just sent an email and said, hey, this is where we're getting food from, the front desk. And I was like, I'm not arguing with the desk. That desk knows what it's talking about. That's where we're getting food. And that solved the problem, right? Somebody had to step up and lead. And so you need somebody to step up and lead. Sometimes it's a desk. But other times where it's problematic is working with outside people, because you can't promise consistency of deliveries, right? You can't say, hey, we're working on this, so we're going to continue working on this for the next 30 years, right? So like when I worked in the VR space, a lot of times Unity or somebody would come up to me like, well, can you promise me you're going to do this? And I'm like, nope. We have no partners. Everything's transactional, and I can't make any promise into the future, which is one reason why people smarter than me pushed for a lot of the VR stuff to end up in the Kronos group and OpenXR, so that we were able to then kind of donate into that. And the same thing with a lot of the stuff that's happening in the Linux space. We have really passionate people at Valve who really want to push that forward. And so they're doing everything they can. But there's no partnership there. There's no like, hey, this is it, right? And so when I would talk with people, I'm talking like absolutely senior people at big giant corporations would be like, well, hey, I talked with so-and-so at Valve and they promised me that we could say, I'm like, nope, no, they wanted me to be the bad guy. That's gonna be the bad guy. Oh, and you come back after those meetings and the person would just be smiling because they knew that you took one for them. But that's how it was, right? And so that I worry about sometimes those kind of things. Not that Valve hasn't, I think, been a good actor in that space, like the examples that I used, but also in things like the Steam backend is better than any other backend. As a developer, it's a joy to use compared to anybody else, from reporting of what you see to ease of putting up builds to everything else. And it used to be that everyone just ran their matchmaking through there because it was free, it was easy, you could do it, you could work with it, but like they don't allow crossplay. And it's just, no one has updated it. And Epic Online Store does have crossplay, so it's better now. Will Valve update theirs? I don't know. I've bugged them a bunch. Oh, see, watch out, you hit your head. So yeah, that's it. That's kind of the good and the bad of it. Just wanted to shed some light and insight into it because I think people have kind of a misunderstanding of it. And often I'll say this, if you're looking at some of this and you go to your company like, well, we should do that. You can't change to it. You have to start, you have to hire for it. And it's really hard to hire for it. Like when you're a small company, when you just need the animator to animate, you don't need them to be good at making cookies or whatever. Like it's hard. And somehow Valve got over that hump. And now people look at that and they think about starting their company that way, but it's really hard. And like it's some survivor bias there that they got over that hump and were able to deliver and make great stuff and then have this experience where I was able to then slot in and just run wild. But really smart people, really good people, because it's about caring about each other as well in that kind of environment. Yeah, so just it's not easy. This person's asking, why does the flat structure at Valve not show it as flat? I think he means this picture. And so this is from the Valve handbook where clearly everybody's here and I'm appearing to be beneath them. Where clearly that's where the captain steers the ship from the back as he sends everyone forward. I think that's what they were trying to demonstrate with that photo. And so I like to think of this not as me actually being beneath everybody else in the organizational chart at Valve, but merely leading from the way true leaders through history have led. It's a little embarrassing, in fact, that they put me in such high regard to put me in that position, in that image. Do not ever tell me anything otherwise about that image.